Hello, Lokman. Lokman,
Sir, namaskar, sir.
Lokman ଶୁଣିପାରୁଛ?
Here, again, to hear two speakers for academic session 2. The first one, Dr. Rahana Bhaira, retired principal, Novel of the Good College, Commonwealth. We have heard from Dr. Doctor that he is not from the philosophy area, but because of his great interest, he is here and he will speak on certain matters. Philosophy and mathematics related. So, without wasting any time, I request our respected speaker, Dr. Vikram Dev, to present his thoughts to the audience. Thank you. The other speakers, Professor Bhaskar Bose, will present his paper to online.
ठीक है. Respected President, Professor Dev, enlightened dignitaries from the audience, after a hearty meal, one should go for siesta, take a nap for some time, but not the microphone. Somehow, the audience is already charged with intellectuals, from students to professors. As Professor Dev introduced to me, I am a sort of intruder to the realm of philosophy. It may be a passing reference to me. Teaching mathematics throughout lifetime, doing some academic work, and then passing on to the administrative side as principal of a college. I do not think I would be able to satisfy your craving. What did Kant say about mathematics? How it developed? And what is the relevance of his thought in the present day? Speaker and audience cannot talk simultaneously. And simultaneous is a very big word and a dangerous word so far as theory of relativity is concerned. Einstein said, there is nothing like simultaneity. There would certainly be a gap because of the rotation of Earth, or the entire solar system is revolving on itself about an axis and so on and so forth. Why I quote Einstein, it is because fundamentally he was a student of mathematics. He gave a new direction, and that direction came from Immanuel Kant. What is that? As Professor Das was highlighting so importantly, that they were dealing with Euclidean geometry. Euclid's geometry says the entire surface of Earth is flat, but Einstein was the only man who had the keen insight to show that it is not flat, it is curved within. Therefore, it is interesting to observe that Euclidean geometry that was dominating for almost 2000 years fell flat, and Einstein's theory of relativity, smashing a part of Newtonian mechanics, emerged. Now, what is mathematics? Professor Das would be wondering, are we illiterate of mathematics that he would be talking about? Yes, sir. You're learned, no doubt. But then mathematics, the way we appreciate, it is not counting, it is not measuring, it is philosophizing. Mathematics is said to be the highest philosophy. Reason? They are twins. Mathematics and philosophy, they emanate from one root, and you can easily guess what that root could be. It is higher thought. It is speculation. It is not the sublunary world we live in. It is a higher dimensional world. Now let us listen to a man who combines mathematics with philosophy. There were many. There was Descartes, who said, I think, therefore I exist. He was called the founder of analytical geometry, or that was designated as Cartesian geometry. I think, therefore I am. Cogito ergo sum. What is that? I think, I speculate, I wonder in my mind, I exercise my faculty of self-development through ideas. Therefore, I am a human being. So, I am a thinking thing. Now, come to Bertrand Russell. I shall be dealing with Russell only because he was a philosopher of very high level. Kant in the Middle Ages of 17th century, what Kant was in 17th century, Russell was in the 20th century. Or Aristotle in the bygone era of 3rd century BC. So these people are so versatile, they were not content with one topic, one subject, or one problem. They wanted to gather, gain, accumulate knowledge from as many sources as possible. I have not prepared any formal paper. I was telling Professor Lakshman Patra that I would be jotting a few rudimentary ideas and would be developing with or without looking at them. If you allow me, I will consult them. Now, what is curved geometry? Curved geometry is, as Professor Das was highlighting and others were also speaking, it is the geometry of space. Lobachevsky and Riemann were the two important mathematicians who developed it. When Einstein was fed up with the Newtonian mechanics of flat world, he inquired whether there is any geometry dealing with curved surfaces. Yes, it was done by your German Riemann 50 years earlier. Now look at the grasping of Riemann. He never knew that his geometry would be so useful for developing theory of relativity. Then the question arises, how could he guess it? How could he know that there would be such a geometry which has its own implication or application in future development of non-Newtonian physics? Mathematicians, as I said, they have their own frame of mind. They speculate, they guess, they doubt, and arrive at truth. All great truths begin as doubt, and they also end in verification. So, Riemann said that curved geometry of Euclid, or non-Euclid, is more than 3 dimensions. Euclid used to describe the flat surface of Earth in terms of 3 dimensions, x, y, z. If I look at a point, I can call it x, y, or z. It is somewhere along the axis of the y-axis and parallel to z-axis. So this is 3 dimensions. Then there was physics developed as 4 dimensions: matter, energy, space, time. It was the uncanny wisdom of Einstein to reduce it to 2. Space is equivalent to, matter is equivalent to energy. So this is 1. Space, time, and space, they can be reduced to 1. So there are only 2 entities. To describe this physical world, we need not go for 4 dimensions. It is sufficient for 2. Space-time is one of them. So what is space? Physically speaking, anything where matter can be put. Time is that it is the interlude between 2 occurrences, 2 events. For example, end of the last session and beginning of the new one. There is an interlude, an interval, and that could be measured by time. This appears to be so simple. Einstein scratched his head for several years to unite them. Could they be united? Yes. He said yes. When the 4th dimension, he called it VT, velocity time. What is that? That is space. What is space? Distance is velocity for time. So that could be designated as VT. So when you want to discuss a particular point, where is it? You can say the distance is ds square. ds square is nothing but x square plus y square plus z square minus vt whole square. It looks so simple. Einstein said, a boy on the street now understands relativity. But in our time, it took us almost centuries to understand what is relativity. Somebody was putting Einstein a question. Sir, what is time and eternity? Empirical time developed becomes eternity, and eternity is nothing but the accumulation of time. What is the difference between the two? He said, I take some time to explain eternity, but you will take eternity to understand time. It's not so easy. To understand time, you may require eternity. So several generations may be spent analyzing the concept of time. Now, Kant moved in duals, matter and mind, space and time. He dealt with many such things, even in political science. He wanted to explain that state as an organism and state as a machine. Then in mathematics also it comes to one fine sentence that dichotomy begins with formalism and intuitionalism. What is formalism? It was a very negative question even during the time of Kant. Suppose I whimsically say, this exists. Professor Das was giving some examples. But deep within it appears to be fallacious. Bertrand Russell caricatured Aristotle's science, saying that he did many things. He was the father of politics, father of dramatics, and so on and so forth. But he committed a very great blunder in science. What is that? Anything that could not hold true, he gave as science. One simple example, Russell pointed out, Aristotle had 2 wives. And Aristotle wrote a fine sentence, women have fewer teeth than men. Russell says, Aristotle could have asked one of his wives to open her mouth and count the teeth within without verifying that. He gave as if he was speaking some gospel truth. Women have fewer teeth than men. I think our lady students would be happy that they have to go spend little time with the dentist because they have fewer teeth. Maybe. Now, the versatility of Kant was such that there was a dichotomy of numbers. Real number is divided into two parts, rationals and irrationals. Rationals are those which can be taken as a ratio of two. P by Q, Q is not zero, P and Q are integers, so it is a rational number. But irrationals, however long it may be, cannot be reduced to a sort of fraction like P by Q. Then came the question, how many rationals are there? Answer is, are they finite? Answer is no. If it is a rational number, add 1 to it, it becomes again bigger than the old rational. Therefore, rationals are countable infinity. There is again another word, uncountable infinity. So this infinity could be measured because of Cantor, the mathematician, who dealt with philosophy. These are the questions of philosophy. No mathematician ever evolved any idea about the infinity. They were all philosophical questions. So, if countable infinity is larger than uncountable infinity, if the set of real numbers, if the set of rationals more than the set of irrationals, answer is no. If it is countable, it is not finite, but it can be put in one-one correspondence with the set of integers. And integers, are infinite. Therefore, what about the uncountable infinity? Anything that can never be counted. If you put a halt that my limit is exhausted, then there would appear another number which is irrational. Therefore, rationals are countable infinite, irrationals are uncountable infinite. So these are some of the basic principles of mathematics from which the modern mathematics developed. Modern mathematics is certainly a reflection of philosophy. Either it is Plato or Descartes or Bertrand Russell, it all went on developing itself. It's not satisfied with itself. Therefore, the best thing would be how to bridge the two things. Now let us come to, sir, is it intelligible or solid? Professor Das, our guru, whatever I am talking about, is it intelligible, sir? Is it understandable? Yes, thank you. Now, Bertrand Russell gave a funny definition of mathematics. Mathematics is a subject which you know that whatever we are talking about is not true. No. Whatever we are thinking is not true. So what is it? Mathematics deals with the two propositions, P and Q. If P is true, Q is false, then the union or disjunction of the two is also true. If one is true, the other is false, the union of the two is true, and that is what is called anyway, I am coming to that. If P is true, its negation is false, negation of P. If you add them, it is also true. If you take the disjunction or into or something like a or, and, it is conjunction. And P and negation of P is false. It is a contradiction. So first one, if all the inferences are true, it is tautology. If all the inferences, at least one is false, it is contradiction. And it is, I am happy to note that Bertrand Russell says most of mathematics is contradiction. You hardly come across a statement which is true all the way. I remember a small story. Sir, am I consuming more time? Please make a halt. I didn't. Okay. There was a king. His wise minister was summoned. He said, "Sir, don't be unhappy. Your earth is resting on a tortoise." Then the king was happy. His kingdom is set safe on the back of a big tortoise. Now, as night prolonged, he summoned again the minister. You said it is based on a tortoise. What about the tortoise? No, sir, it is resting on a very big elephant. Okay, you can go. Again, he summoned him after some panting, sweating, and said, Minister, you said my earth is resting on a tortoise. Tortoise is resting on an elephant. What about the elephant? Is it hanging on the vacuum? He said, no, sir. It is resting on a bigger elephant. All the way the elephants are there, your kingdom is very safe. So, without wasting much of your time, we can say Kant is worshipped, so to say, 300 years after his birth because of three things, important things, which underlie the philosophy of mathematics. A priori is known to all of you. Something which already exists, something which is already structured, that need not verify itself and will not beat its opposite, is a priori. The sun rises in the east. There is no occasion when it would rise in any of the three other directions. 2 plus 2 is 4. There is no reason to verify whether it is in the world or in the moon or any other solar system where it would fail. We have accepted it. When it has no other contradiction, we can say it is a priori. Then comes synthesis. Synthesis says it is not the only answer. We need not verify a priori. But what about synthesis? Professor Das was hinting. In the curved geometry, if you draw a triangle, the sum of the three interior angles is either more than 180 if it is concave or less than 180 if it is convex. Therefore, one interpretation can have many meanings. That is your synthetic application. And the third one is analytical. If you analyze, you are analyzing within the framework of the given statement. You can never improve it. It doesn't make you anything wiser. For example, our honored chairman is a man. Chairman and man. They call it synonymous. So in no way, the answer is different from the statement itself. So within the framework of the statement, a tall man is tall, a rose flower is rose. So these are some of the fine examples of analytic statement. Now, Kant is important because he combined a priori with synthetic element, synthetic diagnosis. What is that? And what is that? If you say it is synthetic, it has more than one answer. If you say it is a priori, it is already verified. We did not beat our own. But to combine the two, one is to be verified, the other also exists because mathematics believes in two lines, two words, existence. Kant was harping on existence, and the other one is uniqueness. Whether a solution exists for this problem, it is, if it is yes, then is it unique? Is it the only solution, or are there more than one solution? So that was the novelty of Immanuel Kant, which we are supposed to know. In no part of our career, either as a student or as a teacher, we came across Kant. I'm thankful to Professor Lakshman Patro for giving me this topic. Innocently, I believed that I know it. But when I went deeper and deeper into the problem of Kant, a new world was open to me. Therefore, Kant, I salute him because he gave some of the fundamental ideas of mathematics. One is formalism, the other is intuitionalism. Formalism wanted, when you say 2 plus 2 is 4, it is well structured, well verified. I did not show it. But somewhere in the outer space, they are sending the intelligent beings leave. Or, as Kant said, all the planets are inhabited by human beings. Of course, he mentioned that wiser than ourselves. As the distance increases from ourselves to the planet, that would be inhabited by wiser people than ourselves. Be happy, there are wiser than to guide us. So, when you say a sentence is formal, you have to prove it. Otherwise, it is only intuition. Intuitively, we speak many things. Mathematics does not believe in intuition alone. What is formal proof? David Hilbert used to question, what is the so many proof? Show me. I would be convinced. It's not always easy. So, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, my problem is over. If you have any doubt, you may question me. I am standing here before you, thinking that there are wiser than in the audience than the man who stands here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please. Speaker. And University of Massachusetts.
Without questions, sir, as you said, it is an
Hello. So, the second participant, Dr. Dara has already delivered his lecture on a game that is philosophy and mathematics, where there is a human learn. We all know that there is a big relation between mathematics and philosophy. Most of the philosophers are coming from the mathematical world, such as Descartes, maybe Rousseau also. So, the way he presented is very much interesting. Everything is there. I just invite questions from the audience.
There is a question.
You want to hear the question, sir?
Whether the mathematical positions are intricated.
Good question. As I said, if it is a priori, it need not be verified because its contradiction doesn't exist. When you say it is synthetic, there is no one meaning to the sentence. There are several, because the sum of three angles of a triangle, mathematically, may be more or less than pi, 180. Kant spent his whole life in critique of pure reason to establish this great truth, whether the mathematical ideas were synthetic a priori or not. One is verifiable already, The other is questionable. How to combine these two? It's Kant in his analysis of philosophy. No, not that. It is very simple. Political philosophy, very simple. He said, one is state as an organism, the other is state as a machine. Machine is liberal. As an organism, it is very hard. As an organism, state wants that the individual should be secondary to the state, subordinate to the state. It has no existence. But the other one says, state as a machine, it may be true, but then there are concessions. Because machine has to move through a human operator. So when these questions come into mind, we say side by side with a weak state and a strong state, you can never combine the two. Because as a simple example, I was being attacked by a flock of jackals or foxes or even other canines like dogs. Shall I run away only to be devoured by a waiting lion? Which is safe? The biting of the dogs or the devouring of a lion? Answer is obviously true. And Bernard Shaw, the famous dramatist, used to give an example that from history we learn that people always prefer death to destruction. That is the end of life. But destruction is the end of a flock, end of a group, end of a tree, end of a civilization. So therefore, let us take into account the directors of pure reason, not practical reason, pure reason, to say that he spent most of his lifetime in discussing this synthetic air priority. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We as students of philosophy are not much technicality, we don't know. I mean, we mathematical technicality. But we learned that mathematics and philosophy, they very much pyramids and fraternity in that sense. And my first question is a rare question, not a very technical question. That after the argument of cause space, Euclidean geometry collapsed. Are you going to say that? Euclidean geometry are mere thoughts from the way.
Minutes for interaction. Sir, can you hear me? Hello.
सर सुनी पार्छन तो
Hello.
हाँ हाँ शुणी
हाँ सर योर टाइम इज 25 मिनट्स
Please tell the title of
25
your.
minutes.
25 minutes.
हाँ
Please tell the title of your topic. You will get time only 20 minutes to present yourself and 5 minutes for discussion. Have you got it?
सर योर
Yeah.
टाइम इज फॉर प्रेजेंटेशन 20 मिनट्स एंड डिस्कशन 5 मिनट्स
Your presentation time 20 minutes. You should have to present your paper within 20 minutes and 5 minutes will be there for discussion.
Okay.
Have you got?
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Good afternoon to everybody. Namaskar. Respected chairperson of this session and my co-paper presenter, Dr. Radhanath Behra sir, distinguished guest, resource persons, research scholars, student. I am going to share something about analytic synthetic dichotomy, Kant versus Quine. So before going to discuss the topic, in the outset, I just share something about the book of Professor Rasbihari Das, a handbook to Kant's critique of pure reason, where he nicely mentioned in his introductions, Immanuel Kant was an epoch-making philosopher. His appearance on the scene of European philosophy marked a turning point in its history no one can claim to be a serious student of modern philosophy if he is ignorant of Immanuel Kant. One may or may not accept the views of Kant on any particular subject, but his views on any philosophical problems can hardly be ignored. So, keeping this view, after 300, we are celebrating 300 years of Kant's birthday. So, national seminar organized by the Department of Philosophy, Vikram Dev University, Jeypore, Koraput, Odisha. I am very much grateful and thankful to the organizing secretary, Dr. Lakshman Patro, giving me opportunity to share something. And I am very proud and privileged to, in the morning session, listens the keynote address of my teacher who taught me Kant when I was student of Utkal University. I am very much grateful and my hearty regards to you, sir, my pranam, and other distinguished faculty members of the department. Just I share in a slide. Am I audible, sir? Chairperson, sir?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, thank you. So, Immanuel Kant and William van Orman Quine. So, two thinkers. One is 17th century thinkers, and other William van Orman Quine. He is a 20th century analytic philosophers, Anglo-American philosophers. So, sir, giving details about Kant's birth history, so I am not telling more. So just I highlight about Quine's philosophy, that Quine is his important work on logic, ontology, epistemology, and the philosophy of language. By 1950, he had developed a comprehensive and systematic philosophical outlook that was naturalistic, empiricist, and behaviorist. So, after publication of Two Dogmas of Empiricism, Quine taking a very radical change. In the initial stage, he was very much interested to logic and mathematics. So, at the time, 1951, when he published a very important and significant contribution like Two Dogmas of Empiricism. So keeping this view, we are gathering some clue and compare between them, but Kant versus Quine is a very controversial term. Here I am using the term versus. That means I am trying to look there is any similar approach in between them, or whether who is influenced by whom. In this regards, regarding the lifespan, the question of mutual influence on each other, or Quine influencing Kant does not arise. Because after 104 years after Quine's birth, so the only possibility is that Kant influenced Quine through his writings. So Quine studies Kant as the one who first amply showed the importance of the analytic synthetic distinction and reconceptualize the whole relationship between logic, language, and meaning. His famous objection to analyticity in two dogmas of empiricism asserts that a fundamental cleavage between truths which are analytic or grounded in meanings independently of matters of fact and truths which are synthetic or grounded in fact is an essential dogma or modern empiricism. So why Kant is interested to distinguish between analytic and synthetic? At the times, we can say that Kant's lifelong work was an attempt to resolve the tension between rationalism and empiricism, because Kant's predecessors, from the beginning of Aristotle and rationalist philosophers, rationalist thinker, empiricist, those all are using the two terms, analytic and synthetic, in different ways. Kant referred to this thought as critical philosophy. So Kant's most famous work include Critique of Pure Reason, Critique of Practical Reason, Critique of Judgment. All these are known as the critical philosophy. And the age of criticism, we can say that it's a systematic critical tradition in the history of Western philosophy came with the publication of Kant's Critique of Pure Reason in the year 1781. So it must be assumed into discussion that the distinction between an analytic and a synthetic method was not Kant's conception. It was already dealt with by ancient mathematicians, and it was commonly used by Kant's modern predecessors and contemporaries. What we call proposition, Kant calls judgment. It's nicely pointed out by Professor Hudananda Rai in his book. So when we are calling proposition, but in Kant's terminology, judgment, but we are not taking it very lightly. They are using a terms very seriously. So Kant's theory of judgment differs sharply from many other theories of judgment, both traditional and contemporary, in three ways: by taking the innate capacity for judgment to be the central cognitive faculty of the rational human mind, by insisting on the semantic, logical, psychological, epistemic, and practical priority of the propositional content of a judgment, by systematically embedding judgment within the metaphysics of transcendental idealism. So these are the ways Kant using judgment. Why Kant using judgment but not propositions? But we are well acquainted with propositions, but Kant, in Kant's philosophy, it is known as judgment, but Kant using judgment as a mental faculty, as a psychological, epistemic, and practical, and the systematic embedding judgment within the metaphysics of transcendental idealism. So now come to the very brief point regarding what an analytic proposition or analytic judgment. A proposition is analytic when the predicate of the propositions is derived by the analysis of the meaning or definition of the subject. For example, all bodies are extended in nature. And the second example, all bachelors are unmarried. These two examples are analytic judgment or analytic propositions because its predicate content, where Kant using in the definition this content. We cannot deny such truths. They are necessarily true, which means that they are true regardless of how the world is. And on the other hand, a synthetic proposition, a proposition is synthetic when the predicate is a subject predicate. Propositions does not state the meaning of the part of the meaning of the subject. It adds something new. That means it gives us a novelty, nutunutta. So in the analytic, it is necessarily true. And in synthetic propositions, we find the essence is that it gives new information, novelty. For example, material bodies are heavy. So it gives, the subject gives a new information, new knowledge. All bachelors are unhappy. So it gives a new information or novelty. That is why it is known as synthetic propositions. So Kant, in his definition, giving such things, so after that, what is Quine's objections? We are taking Quine's objections. William van Orman Quine is a leading thinker of the tradition of analytic philosophy. His initial entry into philosophy was through discipline of mathematics. Quine published his famous article, Two Dogmas of Empiricism, which evoked one of the biggest controversies in the history of philosophy. The literal meaning of, when we are saying dogmas, I also clear this. So in this article, there are 6 sections. Among these 6 sections, 4 sections are the discussion based on the analytic and synthetic distinction. What are his objections? This distinction between analytic and synthetic truth is what Quine refers to as the first dogma of empiricism. I'm taking the first dogmas. So he asserts that a fundamental cleavage, both dogma and Quine mentioned that in these articles, both dogmas, the reductionism and the distinction between analytic and synthetic. So both dogmas, I shall argue, are ill-founded. One effect of abandoning them is, as we shall see, a blurring of the supposed boundary between speculative metaphysics and natural science. So why his objection? His objection is a different type of objection. We are generally speaking can't refute analytic synthetic distinction, but many interpreters are interpreting that Kant is very earlier say many things about the dogmas. Dogma about his predecessors. So here, Quine's second ambition is that if we refute these things, if you reject these things, then it will be helpful to reach a pragmatic things. So this is these things are very necessary for the analytic thinkers. So Quine is also taking it, and also his approach is how to reach a holistic approach in case of language and meaning. When we are giving the example, so Kant, Quine is also discussing various things. Quine distinguishes the theory of reference from the theory of meaning. He is not interested in discussing the meaningfulness of the analytic statement, but he is interested in examining the nature of analyticity formulated by Kant. So it is one of the interesting. So in Quine's philosophy, after 1951, he claimed always a naturalist. So within this naturalistic framework, Quine argued that meaning is indeterminate, reference is inscrutable, ontology is relative, theories are underdetermined by experience, In principles, the truth value of any statement or can be revised, and there are no meaning, no propositions, no attributes, no relations, no numbers, no synonymity, no facts, no analytic truths, and so forth. So these are the refining philosophy of Quine. And so, but we can see that Quine has been sympathetic to the a priori, but not in the traditional sense. In the same way, Kant is also very much sympathetic for his predecessors, but he is not sympathetic for the a priori conceptions of his predecessors. He has been highly dissatisfied with the official doctrine of analyticity, as he has found that the notion itself is not clearly defined, and above all, it has not been properly demarcated from the so-called synthetic truths. However, both Kant and Quine agree that analyticity would not solve the problem of a priori knowledge. At this level, they partially combine. Kant's agreement with Quine is confined to the view that analyticity helps to achieve a certain purpose. Thus, if this is a fact, apart from their different metaphysical positions within the analytic in general, as with the synthetic in particular, understanding Kant as fulfilling a Quinean insight presents us to make sense of some of his deepest remarks. Thank you. So, just I am sharing something. If there is any confusion, please ask me for clarification. I am trying. So within a short period of time, a difficult philosopher's taking is too difficult. So I am trying in all my best. So if there is any problem, please share me, and I will try to clarify it.
Thank you, Professor Ghosh, for completing your speech within time. And
Yes, it is audible.
Okay. There is a convention to felicitate the speaker on the dais. As you are in the virtual mode, we all are felicitating you in virtually felicitating you. Take our respect from this end. Now the platform is open for discussion. If any questions is there, please, Professor Jyoti Das.
Sir.
Professor Jadeswar,
Sir.
thank you for your presentation. I cannot say that there is a confusion, but there is a fusion.
Sir.
Fusion might lead to explosion. Fusion might lead to explosion. You said that Quine's dichotomy, I am sorry. You mean to say that Quine's objections to one of dogmas, two dogmas of empiricism?
Yeah.
We know that these two dogmas of empiricism was addressed to logical empiricism, that logical positivism. One of the distinctions they held between analytic and synthetic propositions is characterized by Quine as one of the dogmas, and the doctrine of verification is characterized as another dogma. Here, the distinction between analytic and synthetic is in question. Kant was not defending the distinction between analytic and synthetic. Analytic and synthetic, a priori and a posteriori, these distinctions were there in the tradition. He wanted to establish a synthesis of the two traditions in the form of synthetic a priori. So it is not Kant's cup of tea to defend that distinction between analytic and synthetic. So White's position is never addressed to Kant. It is addressed to the logical positivists, which could be seen to be better presented in language, truth and logic of A.J. Ayer. And you will find later on that this dogma, this so-called dogma, has been defended by P.F. Strawson in his article in defense of a dogma. So your raising of a problem and the solution of that problem, I think that causes a fusion which might lead to explosion. I don't say it's a confusion.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is there any question from the students or other distinguished participants? No. So, I am going to conclude this technical session 2 as chairperson. I am
Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello.
How?
Hello. Hello.
Thank you, Betsy. I'm reading. Oh, Lakana. Subida. Hello. Hello. ସେଠି ଦି ଜଣ କଣ am I audible? ଏଇତ କରିଦେ ଆପଣ ହ୍ୟାଲୋ ପ୍ରଭାସ ଆସୁଛି କଥା ଲେଫ୍ଟ ସେଟା ରାଇଟ ଲେଫ୍ଟ ସେଟା ରାଇଟ Hello? Hello? ଆପଣ ଶୁଣାଉଛି? ହ୍ୟାଲୋ? ହ୍ୟାଲୋ? ଆପଣ ଶୁଣାଉଛି? Okay. Very good afternoon to all those participants, scholars, intellectuals, those who present over here in hybrid mode, both in offline and online mode. Actually, I am not, I don't know whether I am visible to others or I'm not sure, but I think my esteemed teachers is there. So my respected teachers, Professor Ganesh sir, and the esteemed president of this technical session, and the co-participant of these technical sessions, and all the participants, those who present in physical modes. So thank you, Lakhans, because for your kind invitation to be the part of this national seminars. Actually, each year I was supposed to be there. Last year I was there, but today due to some busy schedule, I could not present myself to that to your national seminars. Still then, I will try to justify whatever I have done within my short time. I will try to justify the topic. Okay, the topic that I have chosen is Kant's phenomenology, and it is called what I have titled, that is the title I have given, Transcendent of the Transcendence. Actually, even though phenomenology is a science, it was a late origin of a 20th century philosophy, still then we have seen that a phenomenological background is there in the philosophy of Kant, not as a science, but as a phenomenological thoughts. So, while Kant explores the transcendental knowledge as the base of his critique of pure reasons, we have seen there is a phenomenological background behind it. And as a phenomenologist, Kant got the bridge between pure reason and practical reasons. As a whole, because Kant has so many works, and the work of pure reason itself is a product of phenomenological thought. Because in the thought we have seen a phenomenological standpoint, even though there is no systematic use of phenomenological terms, that is eidetic reduction, intuitions, all the concepts, bracketing, all these concepts are now there, but still the philosophy of Kant has a great role in influencing phenomenologists, particularly the phenomenology of Edmund Husserl, Martin Heidegger, Nietzsche, and Molly Ponti, and other phenomenology. They are very much influenced by the philosophy of Immanuel Kant. So, in this paper, I have tried my best to show how Kant philosophy of critique of pure reason, it is developed out of some kind of phenomenological thoughts. Okay, so I will try to finish within a short span all these papers. Okay, so these are some important works of Kant, that is critique of pure reason, practical reason, judgment, metaphysics, morals, and project for a perpetual peace, all these works. And among these works, I think critique of pure reason is the only work, because it is the critical work. As just now, Harrison said, that is here the Kant explain how a region is the sole ground for the criticism of regions. Region criticizes regions. So pure regions, as the title of the book highlight that it is a phenomenological works. So because Kant assesses everything in terms of pure regions in his first work, critically going through the pure regions. So what I have assessed that among these works, the critique of pure is in the work which is purely based on phenomenological, not terminology, phenomenological thoughts, not terminology. There is no phenomenological terminology was not used. Phenomenology as a science, it is not there, but some phenomenological thought is there in the philosophy of Kant. So I will focus on this particular test, critique of pure reasons. So this is the picture shot I have done, that how pure reasons and practical reasons. These are two, because in pure reasons we understand the things with a limiters. We know the thing with a limiters, but we can thought of the thing beyond limitations. But in practical reasons, we are justifying the things with reasons, because reason is supposed to justify practically so many things. And in between them, what I have said, critique of judgment, because judgment reconciles the position of critique of pure reason and critique of practical reasons. Okay, so in all these topics, I have highlighted what are the concepts. Basically, I highlighted all these concepts. Then in critique of pure reasons, Kant particularly these total critique of pure reason is divided into two kinds. That is the doctrine of elements, because doctrine of element and doctrine of methods. And in the doctrine of elements, Kant shows that how the various elements and particles are essentially constituted in human understandings. So, and in doctrine of methods, because in doctrine of method, he attempted to show the how to use reason in a right way. That means it shows the relationship between the mathematical theory and philosophies, because philosophy does not possess the dogmatic certainty like other sciences, like mathematics and other sciences. So here he wanted to show that how it is the base, because it is the philosophy, it is a kind of, not a philosophy, it is a kind of philodoxy. So in the doctrine of methods, he attempt to show the relation between the mathematics and relation between mathematics and philosophy. And in the doctrine of elements, as a whole, it is divided into two kinds. That is the transcendental aesthetics and transcendental logic. And in transcendental aesthetic, he shows the space-time, how they are the pure form of intuition, apparent form of intuitions. And in transcendental logic, he shows the different kind of logic, particularly the logic of understanding and formalistic logic. And again, he subdivides the transcendental logic into two types, such as transcendental analytic and transcendental dialectic. In transcendental dialectic, actually Kant shows the 12 categories of understandings, that how schematized knowledge of the phenomenal world become possible within the 12 categories of understanding. Because in this way, he was very much influenced by the philosophy of Aristotle. And in transcendental dialectic, according to Kant, there is a illusion in dialectic, because dialectic is nothing but some kind of argument and counter argument. If you go on in this series, we will reach at a particular point where there is a illusions. So that is there is a limitations of understanding. So in dialectic, there is a limitation of understanding. So here Kant shows that we have, by dialectic, we are discussing three kind of dialectics. Actually, we are discussing. So transcendental dialectic is divided into three kinds, such as rational psychology, rational cosmology, rational theology. So in rational psychology, he wanted to examine or show or critically estimate the position of souls, and in rational cosmology, he critically examines the position of world, and in rational theology, he examines the position of the God. So in rational psychology, so to say, it is called, he wanted to prove the soul. So he actually formulated four kind of parallelism. Parallelism means the invalid conclusion which is established in syllogistic arguments. And soul as a substance, soul as a person, soul as a simple, soul as a ideal. These are the four kind of general proofs that we accept. But Kant here wanted to show that how these are the four parallelisms that we have noticed in the philosophy of soul or rational psychology. Again, in rational cosmology, Kant shows how the world is not a one-side opinion. It is a philological argument. So here he shows four kind of antinomies about the universe world. That is one called thesis, another is called antithesis. So here Kant shows that how temporality, that is the beginning of the world, is a whether it is a beginning or it has no beginning. Thesis and antithesis. So similarly with regard to simplicity, similarly with regard to causality, similarly with regard to necessity. So we are discussing four kind of antinomies with regard to rational cosmology. These are the antinomies of time, of temporality, antinomy of simplicity, antinomy of causality, as antinomy of necessity. Similarly, we examine the concept of God like this. So in all this concept, there is a phenomenological or transcendental way of understanding the soul, world, and God. So in my paper, I wanted to show that how Kant philosophy is having a phenomenological background. First of all, I have made 7-8 slides, and I will show how it is a phenomenological. First of all, in Kant's transcendental idealism, according to Kant, objects as a real, it appears to us. This appearance world is the real world, because objects are nothing but is a mere representations of our understanding. Okay, so it is not the knowledge that is conformed to the object, but the object must conform to our knowledge. So he believes in the concept of transcendental subjectivity, the transcendental ideality, subjectivity of space relation, time relation, through which he wanted to explain this phenomenal world. So this world is called world of appearance, which is explained phenomenologically through transcendental subjects. So here Kant rejects the idealistic positions of empirical idealism of Descartes and Berkeley and psychological idealism, because generally we perceive that idea is something different, and idea produces the matter. Idea is primary, matter is secondary. But according to Kant, it is not like this, because idealism, what Kant visualized that transcendental idealism reconciles the position of inner sense and outer sense. The outer sense is considered as a means, inner sense is the end, because it is through the inner sense, transcendental subject, we project the world, just like a phenomenologist, because we have some kind of givenness, and by the givenness, we projected this universe. So this world is construed and projected by the transcendental subjects. So here the worldly knowledge, he explained the total construction of worldly knowledge in terms of four ways. There are four ways of understanding worldly knowledge. One is called sensibility, intuition, understanding, and reasons. Sensibility and intuition he used interchangeably. Sometimes he is talking about sensible intuitions, sensibility, intuition, and understanding, which he uses the term rational understanding. That is the region is connected with understanding, because region is the highest form of the understanding, and sensibility is the base of the knowledge. The knowledge of this world is the knowledge of appearance, and this knowledge is produced out of the sensibility. And sensibility is the lower form of knowledge, and region is the highest faculty of knowledge, because region is that which attempt to synthesize, unify, and systemize all our knowledge that we have acquired through sensibility. And here he considered that region as a pure region and practical region, because through practical region he justified the knowledge of the religious, the knowledge of ethics, the knowledge of social relation, the knowledge of empirical work. But when he wanted to explain how pure region is the only way to understand the world of no man, I may say. So this is only through pure reason we can understand. We can we cannot know of it, but we can think of it. But there is no limitation in thought. As it is pointed out by Wittgenstein, thought has a limitation, but here thought has no limitations. So region has no limitations. So when region assess something, does something beyond empirical world, it is called some kind of transcendental illusion. This illusion is not something sophisticated and mystery. It is an illusion of knowing, understanding the thing in a right way. It is not an illusion just like a ordinary illusions, error, confusion, hallucination. It is an illusion in the thought. So because, and the general illusion, empirical illusion that we have, that illusion in judgment. But the transcendental illusion is that we arrive through dialectical process. It is a kind of critical understanding of the world. So, according to Kant, the transcendental world makes some conditions for this phenomenal world to make human knowledge possible. So, he makes that space and time as the arbitrary form of conditions. Even though space and time, they are non-derivative, they are not derived from experience. Still, they are the base of experience. They are the foundation, substratum. They are the primary element to make human knowledge possible in the phenomenal world. And similarly, 12 categories of understanding, because it is through categories of understanding we can understand the world and you can know the world. And in between, because he talked about the schema. Schema is nothing, it is a kind of imaginations. It is a kind of not ordinary image. It is a kind of mediator, we may say, between the arbitrary concept of understanding and sensuous intuition of sensibility. Because on the one hand, we have sensibility of sensuous intuition, we are saying. On the other hand, we are saying that understanding or rational understanding. And in between them, schema, it is a kind of arbitrary imagination, we may say. So we are saying that as a whole, we are saying that schematized category. So the categories that is applicable to the phenomenal world, they are called schematized categories. So we have 12 categories of understanding. So according to that, we have 12 schematized categories. That is the quality, quantity, relation, and modality. And according to that, there is an arrangement of categories of schematized category. That is called axiomatic intuitions, which is related to quantity, anticipation of perception, which is related to quality, analogy of experience, that is concerned with the relations of category of relations, postulation of empirical thought related to the modality. So these are the all ways of understanding schematized category to the phenomenal world. And so the concept phenomena and noumena, it was first used by Kant, and phenomena and noumena, generally you understand this is something which is beyond our experience, but it is not like that. The world that is within our thought, that is called noumena world. The world which appears to us, that is called phenomenal world. So according to Kant, the world which exists in my mind, in my thought, not in my mind, because phenomenology does not admit any kind of mind, because to get a phenomenological position, we don't need any mind, because we need only thought, and thought of the thought is called phenomenology. Transcendent of the transcendent is called phenomenology. So while we are talking about noumena, that is the thing in itself, or in plural we may say that thing in themselves. And phenomena means that is the thing as appeared to us. And when we talk about thing in itself, that is called noumena. When either the thing is made for something else, thing for something else, that is why projected things, thing for itself, that is called phenomena. Or we may say, Nietzsche was also talking about this, that is called noumena is a kind of intelligible one, and phenomena is a kind of sensible one. No doubt, noumena is unknown and unknowable, and phenomena is knowable, but it is not a matter of knowing the things. It is the matter of to what extent we can penetrate our thought to the noumena. So noumena is a thing which can be thought of. It can be thought of the thought of. So it is the base of the phenomenological studies, because no doubt there is no application of a direct categorical schematized category cannot be applied to noumena, and it is not within the space and time postulations. Still then, noumena is the real one, because it is the not only thought, it is not produced out of thought, it is a thought of the thought. And this is called phenomenology. This is the base of the phenomenological world. So noumena is the real world. So Kant is talking about all these things. So here Kant is talking about the role, just I talked that role of senses, sensibility, intuition, understanding, and origins. When we talk about sensibility, intuition, understanding, and origin, all these are the uh, activity which is related to mental phenomenon or mental world. And understanding is the base to develop phenomenological concepts, because it is through understanding we can project the world, and man's ability to synthesize the different elements of the universe become possible due to understanding. Because you see, the understanding means the understanding of, that is the kind of judgment of the things, and it is not reciprocal because we are not receiving something through experience, and it is only to judge and think. It is only to judge and think, that is called understanding. But when understanding in a higher level it goes, it is called region. When region only can estimate of itself, region can think of region itself. So there are two functions of understanding. One is called discursive analytic activity functions, and another is called creative and synthetic activity of functions of understanding. That is, one is called logical use of understanding, another is called transcendental use of understanding. And when we talk about logical and transcendental use of understanding, the question of origin comes. So understanding, we say that understanding take nature, because the law giver of nature, the arrangement of nature, the natural world, all these things are systematized through understandings. So understanding is the base of primary step or stepping stone to the regions. So understanding regions, they are the base of phenomenological philosophies. Okay, so as a whole, what I assess that in phenomenological studies of Kant, the transcendental subjectivity of subject of transcendental apperception is the base. That is, the transcendental subject means the subjects which can thought of the things exist in nominal world, a thing which is visualized in the thought itself. And apperception is a kind of self-consciousness.
Hello,
Hello.
do you hear?
Yes,
Please
yes.
summarize your speech
Okay.
within
This is the last.
3 minutes.
Okay. So, as it is a synthesis of conceptual elements. So the transcendental deduction of category, the synthesis, the transcendental subject make a synthesis of the sensuous, sensuous and intuition accept. So there are threefold of synthesis: synthesis of objects, synthesis of reproduction in the imagination, synthesis of recognition in a concept. Okay. Then transcendental. Hello. Okay, let me summarize all these things. So, as a whole, what I visualize, summarize that the phenomenological studies is there in Kant's philosophy. Because the transcendental subject, which is meaning by origin itself, the thought of thoughts, the transcendental thought, all these they are called phenomenological. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Visay, for your elaborate presentation. You have made a very nice presentation of Kant's philosophy from phenomenological angle, which must have appealed and benefited the students and research scholars present here. However, for any clarification, one or two questions may be invited from the floor. You can come and ask here. Hello, are you there?
ଅଛନ୍ତି ସେ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଆସିବ ସାଉଣ୍ଡ ଆସିବ ଏଇଠି କହ ଏଇଠି
Thank you, sir, for your beautiful presentation. Sir, in some point you said that thought has limitation, and another point is that every thought. My query is, in which sense you are saying that thought has no limitation?
According, because the philosophy of from transcendental standpoint, from that standpoint, from the philosophy of phenomenological standpoint, I am saying that thought has no limitation in the sense that when we think of something, because we have what is that pure thought? Because phenomenological studies that all, we have as we have to okay. First we have to, when we think for the world, we keep ourselves because our mind in our thought, we are thinking of something. We are thinking of something. But phenomenological study is saying that this kind of both philosophical studies. Thought is there, but there is no mind. Thought, when there is mind, there is limitation. Thought of thought, there is no limitations. There is no limitations. Okay, so when thought is there is mind is there. When our mind is circumscribed so many things, it is conditioned by so many limitations, there is no pure thought. So that kind of thought has no limitation. What phenomenon is talking about? And that kind of thought is the base of Kant's philosophy, is what I perceive.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you.
Now we shall proceed to the next presentation. It will be by Mr. Vikram Dev, Assistant Professor, Ramanand College, Vishnupur, Bankura. He will present his paper on concept of time in the light of Kant's philosophy. Now, Mr. Dev will present his paper.
Thank you, sir. Respected chair, sir ko amar pranam and learned shota bondhu আপন মেনকে আমার যথাযোগ্য সেই প্রণাম এবং শ্রদ্ধা মু যে বিষয়টা আজি আলোচনা করিবি সেটা হচ্ছে কান্ট কনসেপ্ট অফ রাইট ইন দ্য লাইট অফ কান্টস ফিলোসফি এইটা আজি আলোচনা করিবি the idea of right places a significant role in political philosophy. Undoubtedly, right is the effective and essential tool to explain the relationship between state and the individuals. Actually, with the help of the right, individuals try to control the tyrannical implementation of the power of state. Accordingly, in the political philosophy of Immanuel Kant, we observe a lot of discussion on the right. Kant believes that without the proper establishment of rights, the individuals, no civil society can be regarded as a decent civil society. According to Kant, the principle of rights are the basic principles of politics based on law. In his metaphysics of morals, Kant tries to explain the concept of right in a briefing manner. I shall discuss the concept of right following the doctrine of right as explained in metaphysics of morals and other related writings. Generally, it is said that a right is essential and establishment or a justified claim in favor of a citizen. It means as a citizen or as a human being, what we are entitled to enjoy. In the present era, particularly in a democratic country, rights have a great role to play for the safeguard of the citizen. Without such rights, no individual can get favorable environment for his or her meaningful existence. In a word, rights are the primarily those claims that I, along with others, regard to be necessary for leading a life of respect and dignity. Immanuel Kant also interested to deal with the concept of right. In the doctrine of right, he said, like the much cited query, what is truth? Put to the logician the question, what is right? Might well embraces the jurist if he does not want to lapse into a tautology, or instead of giving a universal solution, refer to what the laws in some country at some time prescribes. He can indeed state what is laid down as right. In this quote, a message is clearly given by Kant that to answer the question of what is right in a word is not possible. There is no doubt that the concept of right dealt in Kant's philosophy has a different aspect than that of the concept of political rights. Following Kant, it can be said that one can easily state what is right in particular cases, but at the same time, it is very much difficult to explain the same in general according to universal criterion. Kant wants to explain the concept of right in connection with the relationship of the person with another, because the action of a person directly or indirectly influences the other. According to Kant, the concept of right has regard only to the external and practical relation of one person to another, insofar as they can have influence upon each other, immediately or mediately, by their action as acts. Immanuel Kant again says, the conception of right does not indicate the relation of the action of an individual to the wish or the merry desire of another as an act of benevolence or of kindness, but only the relation of his free action to the freedom of action of the another. In this reciprocal relation of voluntary action, the concept of right does not take into consideration the matter of the act of will, insofar as the end which anyone may have in view in willing it is concerned. According to Kant, the universal principle of right, any action is right if it can coexist with everyone's freedom in accordance with a universal law, or if on its maxim the freedom of choice of each can coexist with everyone's freedom in accordance with a universal law, or it if on its maxim the freedom of choice of each can exist with everyone's freedom in accordance with a universal law. From this quote, we can infer that right must be coexisted with others' freedom of choice in accordance with a universal law. That means there is a reciprocal relation of choice. Here we find some sort of relationship among individuals, but it should be kept in mind that the notion of right is not the relation of individual individual action doing from mere will and desire, because right is always related with the free action of individuals, where at the same time the free action of other person is recognized. So it can be said that only voluntary will as free will is the basis of right. Kant says right is the whole of the conditions which under which the voluntary action of any one person can be harmonized in reality with the voluntary action of every other person according to a universal law. Here, Kant suggested that rights are nothing but the sum total of conditions under which the will of a person can bring together with the will of others in connection with universal law of freedom. Here we find the universal principle of right. According to these principles of freedom has to be restricted in accordance with rights, and if justice is to come out, it must be done so as per the universal principle of right. There we find two types of rights: natural rights and positive rights. Natural right rests only on a priori principle. Natural right rests only on a priori principle, and positive right proceeds from the will of legislature. Again, it can be said that the former constitutes private rights, and the latter leads to public rights. According to him, a civil state differs from state on nature because the state of nature is devoid of civil society or such like institutions that secure the mean and thin by public law. It is thus the right viewed under reference to the state of nature is specially called private rights. Kant claims the private right is concerned with property. Beside this, there we find property rights, contract rights, right to things, right to a democratic society, parental rights, right to the head of the household, etc. Thank you.
Right interest to articulate mention notion of right, comparing it with revenue and the background of talking of universal principle of humanity. Students, if you are interested, you can ask some questions for your clarification. You have also the concept of the concept, another concept like duty.
Right.
সেটা আম্বেদকর যে কনস্টিটিউশনাল রাইট দেখি ভারতীয় সমাজকে একটা দিশা দেখিয়ে দিয়েছে metaphysics of morals. The philosophy of law of wars. India constitution का India constitution right था उसी से का fundamental
important question about the philosophical speaking. Question of rights, when question of right comes, state power versus individual rights. If it is to tension, state power and the individual rights are inversely proportional. When state becomes more powerful, then individual rights are reduced. When individual rights are more and more, state power diminishes. So there needs to be a balance, and our lawmakers should think what kind of right is very much justifiable for an individual for its own fulfillment in a society. Is individual personal fulfillment, my growth in a society, to live and die with dignity, respect, and is fulfilled in what kind of society? In that how much right I need, and also state has to function. Right, that's why how Kant is going to balance our rights. Is there anything that you found out? Because we are not also acquainted with the topic that you have taken. We are talking from a very commonsensical point of view. That actually this is how rights are talked about. Duties and rights are talked about in philosophical ways. So our interest in Kant is to know how he makes and maintains this balance between what kind of rights you will fight for an individual to grow in all kind of potential. We have immense potential. And then the society or a state should give all these things to us, right?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Roy. Now we shall proceed to the third paper, which will be presented by Shobhan Bag. He is from the Department of Philosophy and Jeypore from Vidyasagar University. He will talk on Kant on animals and ethical study.
Thank you, sir. Respected chair and learned audience, myself Sapan Bag, doing research work in the Department of Philosophy and the Life World, Vidyasagar University, West Bengal. Today, I shall discuss on Kant on animals and ethical study. At present, animal ethics has become a burning topic of discussion. Anthropotic attitude gradually leads us to degradation of nature as a whole. Being intelligent, it is duty of human beings to take necessary steps for the sustenance of the living being on the earth, including man and animals. Ethics as a subject clearly and distinctly shows how to behave with others. All ethicists have tried to offer guideline sets from their own perspectives. Immanuel Kant, a German philosopher, has his own standpoint to offer a unique model regarding the treatment of animals on earth. He clearly explained the position of animals on earth and the duty of human beings toward animals. One of the Kantian research scholars, Kantian scholar, Nico Muller, says Immanuel Kant appears like an intellectual ancestor of today's animal rights movement. Muller demands a superior position to Immanuel Kant in the field of animal rights movement. To him, Kant rightly played his role in the connection to treated as the pioneer of animal rights movement. In support of his demand, he said that we should treat others according to a rational principle to momentary aptitude, that moral responsibility arises from the capacity to determine our own action autonomously, not from tradition. A self-interested contact with other human beings, or the comments of human shaped God, that we should exercise self-control, that we should not excel ourselves above others, that we should cultivate sympathy and act on it. Post-Kantian animal ethicists like Peter Singer, Tom Regan, Mary Michelet are the dominant responsibility of animal rights movement. Peter Singer and Tom Regan think that moral equality theories extend equal consideration and moral data to animals by refuting the supposed moral relevance of the accumulate special properties of human beings. Arguing by analogy, moral equality theories often extend the concept of rights to animals on the grounds that they have similar physiological and mental capacity as infants or disabled human beings. Arguments in this category have been formulated by philosophers such as Peter Singer and Tom Regan. On the other hand, Mary Midgley says all human communities have involved animals. The animals become tame not just through fear of violence, but because they were able to form individual bonds with those who tame them by coming to understand the social signal addressed to them. They were able to do this not only because the people taming them were social beings, but because they themselves were so as well. In the way, undoubtedly, all the thinkers have played influential and effective role in connection with animal liberation movement. Kant says cruelty to animals by human is wrong as an evil act because it can eventually develop a tendency to cruelty in us. In fact, Kant has accepted the indirect moral duty towards non-human animals. In his article, Lecture on Ethics, the purpose of discussion is to discuss how Kant has expressed the moral relationship between human and animals. In Kant's ethics, especially, indirect duty has been established differently in modern philosophy. In Kant's books such as Metaphysics of Morals and Lecture on Ethics, the issue of animal morality is also observed along with human morality. Although the issue of the morality of human species has been established in that way, the issue of morality of the animal humanity has not been established. But the maxim act in such a way that you always treat humanity, whether in our in your own person or in the person of any others, never simply as means, but always at the same time as an end. Indicates the moral nature of non-human beings, that is act in such a way that you always treated humanity, whether in our own person or in the person of any others, never simply as a means, but always at the same time as an end. The word others does not simply indicate the human being. Rather, it has a deeper meaning. It includes all the living creatures on earth. If you want to treat humanity as humanity, we have to mean its implication by offering a moral status to animals. This is the significance of indirect duty theory towards animals. Thank you.
Ideas about tension how can we imagine about animal rights? Any reaction from the floor on this issue? I think we are proceeding right. Start this question.
State in every writings does not say anything about animals.
Sir, please, sir, arguable. No, sir. No, sir. Directly, কোনো কিছু বলি পারিনি, but on lecture on ethics, suppose example হিসাবে উনি দিয়েছেন আর কি।
How in theory, can be made to applicable to analytics? I can see one aspect in it. In this level, there is a view that everything that lies in the world are meant for human use. Honestly, on the view, their relationship God. They have their own rights to existence in this world. Some of them are as conscious as human beings are. Therefore, they should not be. The concern of it will be to make a balance between them, to keep everything as it is. If we can't use Kant as a method, something to be done over analytics. I can simply say, if you can see very other see some other view from other aspect,
Sir.
both of you for your future. Thank you, Mr. Khan. Now there will be the program of felicitation to the two people presenters on behalf of the Department of Philosophy from the College Jeypore. And for this, I would like to request Professor Tapal Dev and K.C. Das to felicitate these two scholars. Professor Tapal Dev to felicitate now, Professor Tapal Dev will felicitate Mr. Bhatt. Thank you all. I request Professor Das to come here and felicitate Dr. Rojas. This will be kept in the department. The other faculties are also there. They also can join. It's also in the department. Is everyone there? Is everyone there?
Yes.
I, on the behalf of Department Philosophy, I express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for your deliberation, participation in this student national seminar. Especially, I express my heartfelt thank you Chairperson Dr. D.M. Pohara sir and all the speakers. Now, today's session is over. The students are waiting for their cultural program and hope we all enjoy this cultural program. Within 10 to 20 minutes after the program will start. I'm going to believe Romuche? Ah, ঠিক আছে Eh,
Rajani.